Well, hello there. My name is HW.
Hey, I'm the Sooze.
Sooze, today we're talking about the Helix.
Yes.
Here's a Helix in front of us, and here's the 68 Twin 15N 121.
It's a good one.
Yeah, normal channel of a 68 Twin 121, Royer 121 on a 15-inch speaker there. Tone matched.
Yeah.
Sounds how you played it. This is with a little tube screamer. But today, this is inspired by the GE7. We pulled the GE7 out, and it was really nice. You know, we were upping some frequencies. GE7 is just like a Boss EQ pedal. And as I was doing that, we came up with some really nice sounds, especially overdrive sounds with a P90 guitar. But it'll work for pretty much any guitar, because well, guitars all kind of sound the same, don't they? No, humbuckers, single coils, P90s, they all have kind of different EQ.
Yeah.
But there's always EQ that we like with guitar, you know, and the sound of the pickups is kind of the shape of that EQ altogether. But what we accentuate is kind of sometimes what gets through in the mix.
Yeah.
You know, we lose a lot of subtlety in the mix.
Yeah.
And so, of course, EQ is shaped by the microphone, the speaker, the amp, everything. So overdriven again, it sounds like this. Here's like a more rockin', let's do the more rockin' sound. And this is using the Heir Apparent. So I'm going to turn on an overdrive. I actually had it on there for a second. I'm going to turn on an overdrive in front, and let's look at what we're doing with this overdrive. I want to play around with some of this mid-range. So I'm going to do a heavy boost of the mid-range. I'm using the Parametric EQ before the compressor, before the amp. If you're not using the compressor, it doesn't really matter. I'm just using this first in my chain.
Okay.
Because I really want to change the sound of the pickups of the guitar so that we're tricking the amp, tricking the compressor, tricking the whole single chain into thinking this guitar sounds kind of different than it is. It has a different accent than it does, as though we could edit the pickups.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use the Parametric EQ. I'm going to add 6 decibels at a 0.7 Q. That's that's just the standard Q. That's the standard width of the triangle that we're going to. And the center of that triangle that we're going to boost, the middle frequency is going to be 1K.
Okay.
So this is like, and we're going to play around between here and 2K. So first off, and then I'll turn it on.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's like the TV is broken.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. I'm going to up it a little more, and we're going to pretend that this is now 2K.
Okay. Are both of these pretty low in terms of mids? Like, are we still on the lower end, or is that sort of middle to high?
We're definitely above a tube screamer.
Okay.
We're in the higher mid range.
Gotcha.
You know, when we start going up to 4K, 5K, which we're not that far from, really.
Yeah.
We're definitely in the high end.
Okay.
We're definitely in treble. So these are higher mids.
Yeah.
I think of it as Klon or Marshall type mids. Tube screamers lower.
Different frequencies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Tube screamers like that megaphone lower.
Yeah.
Marshall Klon is like the higher mid range.
Okay.
You know?
Cool.
Yeah, off and on again.
2K.
2K. $2K starts to hit my ear like, did we go to a thinner guitar, like a single coil?
Yeah.
So let's hear it without any overdrives on. This is just the twin. And, you know, trying to arpeggiate some chords or something here. We don't have that much delay and reverb, so you can kind of hear the guitar. Sometimes people in these videos say, why don't you turn off the delay and reverb? And to that I would say, because I have ears. Who plays the guitar dry?
Right.
No one.
I know. I know.
You know, like
you could hear the change, but then you're never going to play it like that.
Yeah,
you're
A/B tests are cool. Like you could be very clinical if you want, but like I wouldn't do that.
Right. How am I going to really use this?
Yeah. There's a level of geekery that's like, we're already dealing with YouTube compression.
Right.
We're already dealing with like you're probably on earbuds or your phone speaker. This is way less annoying than those things to me. Anyway.
Right.
Okay. Clean. Clean. No EQ.
Yeah.
This is just the amp. It's our twin 15-inch speaker 121. Sounds like this. that 2K boost. Now we're keeping it very simple.
Yeah.
We could do other things to other frequencies and change them.
Yeah, this is one being
But we're
changed,
just talking about like one frequency because it's kind of this. It's just the mid-range right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We could totally try to transform something. We could say, oh, some of these things came up too much and we want to use a shelf and make sure that certain things aren't being dragged up, or we want more bass, really scoop it. We could do whatever we want. Let me bring this back down to 1K and let's hear that off and on again. Here's with some tube screamers. So there's low mids in here now, and we're gonna off and on boost at 1K. Up at 2K, we're gonna let's go 2.5. 2.5 off and on. It really changes that guitar into a Strat. You know what I mean? Totally. It really takes it and does that. Let's cut it. Let's cut this and see what happens.
Okay.
I'm just going to cut it. I don't even know. I haven't done this before the video or anything. So
yeah,
this
same frequency.
This might sound bad.
How much are you cutting?
I'm cutting like 3 decibels.
Okay.
So it's going to be a pretty big, yeah, this will be noticeable for sure.
Yeah. It
kind of just feels like it cleaned it up a little bit because we're cutting the amount of gain going in there.
Signal, yeah.
But let's really hammer it, man. Let's like try this rock thing, and let's really. I want to use it like it's a boost, like it's a lead boost.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go like 1600, and I really want to like hammer this thing on. So give me some like I'm gonna put it at like 8 dB.
Okay.
This is too much. Maybe.
We'll find out. Yeah.
It's too much when you're listening to a guitar like this, but I bet you in a mix.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the interesting thing. In a mix, you don't want to hear a lot of your guitar. You know what I mean? You actually have a lot less space to enjoy all of this, which is why lead sounds tend to be mid-rangey and a little more narrow, pokey.
Totally.
This is going to be in that vein. So here's off and on. Play some power chords and then maybe like a lead part. Now here's the 16K kind of lead boost. I have it on good authority. I can't remember if it's 12 or 16.
Yeah.
That's exact. Slash's guitar rig is an EQ always on with the one. It's a graphic EQ with the one fader up right there.
1600.
So we're using a Q, so there's more going up with it.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to narrow it to almost be like more graphic EQ, like I guess you could go to 0.2 or 0.1 and try that. But that's the sound. That's that upper mid range. That's that like Jubilee. That's what he does on all his stuff to get that sound. It's very vocal.
Yeah.
You will kind of be in the way of your vocal if you use it all the time.
You try the neck too.
Yeah, try the neck.
Yeah, that's an interesting change. Yeah,
and it even makes that thing sound like a bridge pickup.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So you've got like a you can kind of do, you can make things however you want. You can accent whatever you want, and you can really sit there with a band with a mix and dial in exactly where you want your lead kind of frequencies to be.
Yeah.
Where you want your guitar to really poke through. Totally. You know what I mean?
Part of what this makes me feel like too is a different kind of experiment of like, normally we would like set up an amp and then have like overdrive, you know, like, or distortion, overdrive, whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting to try a set with an amp and then like EQ, like before,
right.
You know, and just kind of go through and set them all differently so that when you're changing your guitar sound, you know, you're actually changing the EQ more than you are just like, oh, here's my first gain and second gain. It's like you could actually choose ahead of time the EQ structure and go to different sounds that way. You know what I mean? It's just a different kind of way of using drives, you know?
That's a lot of what I think people are doing when they gain stage and they use a lot of drives. They're sort of trial and erroring all of these different EQ curves. You know, I even heard someone say like, I'd never use a mid-heavy gain as my first stage drive. And I actually, even though I thought that was a weird comment to make, it actually is quite insightful about what they're looking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's
the question's why. Like, what do you not want, or what do you want?
Like they know they want more transparent. Later, though, they may want mid-range in a later stage.
Yeah,
you know, maybe third stage or something. They want mid-range. They want kind of a little overdrive, and then maybe a little more. Maybe it brings up some bass and treble, and then maybe at the end they want like that for the heavier lead stuff. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what that guy's rig is like. Yeah. So now I'm gonna let's accent this, but let's make like cuts to the low end and cuts to the high end, and we're gonna high end frequency, high Q. These are all parametric, so we're gonna widen this Q a bit, and we're gonna take it down in some of this higher area, and we're gonna do that. And now we're kind of doing the same things. We're cutting some low end. 136. I'll even up this a little bit to 150. We're cutting some high end, and we're still going to accent the mid range at that 1600, and it's going to sound like this. Not a world of difference on the low end. I'm actually going to cut even more. But oh, you know what? I didn't cut any high end. My bad. That's really what I was not. I forgot to actually turn the high gain down. Yeah. Okay. Let's try this again. Here's I'm basically cutting the low end 150, cutting the high end at 6. So these are points. So I'm pulling down high end, pulling down low end, boosting this high mids, low mids. There's a lot of stuff left untouched, and sounds like this. Much more like mix ready, I think. Yeah. And then you bring these mids down even more, and you're really going to get like this will feel very tube screamery. I'm going to like bring this down to like 650, 700, the mids. Yeah. So we're pushing a bunch of mids there. We're going to cut all this other stuff.
Question: when do you start calling low mids like low? Is that 500 or?
Yeah. So to me, like the middle point I think of is around 800, 750, 800. Okay. If you're above that, you're not low. But high mids, I think it's fair if people say 1,000 isn't high mids, 1,000 in the middle. I'd say the middle, is this 800 to 1,000 to 1,200 range. That's really the middle. Yeah. When you get above that, you're getting higher. When you get below that, in the middle, you're just in the middle. Okay. So if people just want to grab their mid range, like kind of all of it, a center point I think is around 1,000 or 800. Okay. Tube screamer definitely accents to low mids. Okay. When you go lower than a tube screamer, you get into 300, 400. It's a muddy area, but where muddy is a word for it for sure. You're kind of between bass and low mids.
Okay.
And a lot of that sound that is like a muddy, grumbly sound, it's a lot of like, you'll hear small tweeds. They'll have like no bass. They'll have no low end bass.
Yeah.
They sound small, but they'll have a ton of like 300.
Okay.
And that's the sound of a small amp. It's like it can't produce the lower end of the bass.
Yeah.
So you're turning up the bass and you're getting a lot of these
Above
low
it.
mids, upper bass.
Yeah.
If there's an upper bass, you know what I mean? Because really, like, you know, a lot of times we'll say below 100 is not really useful for a guitar in like rock and blues.
Yeah.
That's where you want the bass to be. In metal, those guys are doing their own thing. You know what I mean?
Totally.
A lot of times they're looking for the real chugga chugga, and a lot of times they're down tuning. So
Yeah,
the
so
bass
you-
is like really
even
sub
more
octave. Yeah, and
low
then
information.
that gives them a lot of room.
Yeah.
But if your bass player is like up here standard tuning, especially if he's playing a P bass, that's not the lowest sound anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like a J bass is lower in the low end. It really has a lot more fullness. P bass is, I mean, it depends on what you're playing. You could, you know, I'm saying that, but you could pull out a tone hammer and make it like do that thing. And that's like a very worship sound right now.
Speaking of EQ, yeah.
Yeah, like you could do that and that gives it. But just a P bass on its own is very like percussive. You know, it sounds a little drummy, and there's a lot of high end.
Yeah.
You know, of course you could darken it, all that stuff, but without something making that P bass go real lower. So the lower your bass player hangs out, the more room you have to go down as a guitar player. But the higher that person is, the less more narrow.
Yeah, that's interesting, huh?
You really have. So this should be like a Tube Screamer thing anyway.
It's nasally, but
We went from
cool,
like we went from like low to like nasally to squat, and that's so I went from basically like 650 up to 2K down to you know, and in this setup you can really hear how that mid range is different by taking everything away. You can hear how the accent is
left.
different, and maybe that's cool. You know, maybe it's what you want.
Yeah.
You know, nothing is good or bad on its own. It's all about
use case and
how it's played and
fits.
everything. So anyway, you know, use EQ to your advantage. Decide what you want, and you know, you can kind of cop what a Tube Screamer does, what a Klon does, what a Marshall does. You can at least get some of those accents, and you can kind of get them with pretty particularly pointed.
Yeah.
You know, EQ. We're not doing a million things here. We kind of are doing more at the end here, but
right.
But we're not doing a million things.
Yeah, just focusing on one frequency gets you a lot.
Yeah. And in a mix, you can really that's the sound right there.
Yeah.
And if people have ever listened to like isolated guitar tracks, you'll hear guitars sound funky by themselves, and you realize how they're EQ'd and stuff. So check that out, you know, dial it in. And this is why I love P90s, by the way.
Yeah, kind of exist in the middle of all of it.
It
you know?
really does. Like a big single coil that you can make Tube Screamery like this.
Yeah.
Let's make it sound ridiculous, you know, but why not?
I like ridiculous.
Yeah,
sounds.
let's like ridiculous. Like I don't know any overdrive that's going to sound like this. So what a perfect way to play us out.
Yeah.
I've been HW.
I've been Sooze.